obviously we're having this chat regarding National Recycling Week and our partnership with Hilton for National Recycling Week. And we've been supporting Hilton Surfers Paradise Travel with Purpose strategy to drive responsible tourism since June 2021, I think. And in that time, they've recycled a whopping 95,290 bottles and cans. That's fantastic. That's actually the equivalent of 15.6 tonnes of carbon emissions. So we're off to a flying start. That's awesome. Obviously, we'd like to see this rolled out in many more sites. But let's just have a chat today about, can you explain to us, what does it mean, travel with purpose? What's that all about?
Well, the actual meaning of it is it's environmental, social, and governance strategy that we have in place for responsible, to encourage responsible travel and tourism globally. What it actually means is basically a guiding principle behind all our operational, our supply chain decisions to make sure that we make the world a better place. Hilton, at the heart of it, has a strong belief that tourism can make the world a better place. So this is our way to contribute to it, to make a bigger impact, and at the same time to measure it and make sure that we're actually delivering on our promises. So we've got a lot of very ambitious targets in that space, both to do with environment and social impact. And obviously some of them have been quite challenging, especially over the last 2 years. 3 years, which again makes the numbers that you just shared even more impressive. During half of that time, we were running with hardly any guests in house, so a lot of it is sort of quite condensed and compressed into the last few months. So it's quite an achievement.
Definitely quite an achievement. And the geographical location of your site in Surfers Paradise, right on the coast there, it's even more important because each one of those bottles and cans obviously ended up in the right place and didn't end up in our oceans. And that coastline is absolutely magnificent. So, I know the sea creatures are also commending you for your efforts. You spoke a little bit then about all of your targets, and I imagine that at the Hilton there are lots of moving parts, and it's quite the task. How did you go about implementing the container deposit scheme through your operations there? Did it take much convincing of management? Was it difficult? Just tell us a little bit about the journey.
Getting people on board was not difficult at all. I think our team members actually feel very, very strongly about environment, about the impact that we're making. And, when the opportunity came about, we had plenty of volunteers to jump on board and drive the program. So from that point of view, that was super easy. The challenges that we had were more logistical challenges because we're part of a big complex with a lot of stakeholders, with a lot of different outlets, with a lot of different areas to get on board and to make sure that we're delivering, all the targets and objectives in that space and collecting the bottles and containers. However, once we've identified people to drive it in each area, in each department, from there it was easy.
Have you had any feedback from guests staying at the hotel?
Not as such. However, we are noticing little changes in guest behaviors. And it's not everyone, but it becomes more and more frequent when the guests, rather than putting a bottle of beer, putting it straight into the bin, they just put it next to it to make it a little bit easier for housekeeping team to separate containers, separate recycling, to make sure that it doesn't all just go to landfill.
Excellent, excellent. That's actually what the program is all about at its core, right? It is about behaviour change. So that very small change of behaviour, adds to our 95,920 bottles that we've recycled. So That's really excellent to hear that the guests are starting to change their behaviour slightly. Tell us about some of the other climate action goals to get you to net zero that the Hilton has in place or is working towards.
First of all, obviously with waste and recycling is a big focus for us. We were one of the first hotels on the Gold Coast to introduce food recycling. So back about 6 years ago, we were working closely with City of Gold Coast, and we were one of the first trial sites to introduce the program. It's now sort of up and running and working with a lot of different venues on board, but we were amongst the first, and we're still one of the best performing ones. So that's one. Another thing that we do, and that's where having the Cash for Containers exchange program really helps, is recycling of small amenity containers. So as you know, hotels have all these cute little shampoo and shower gel bottles. And if you think about it, we've got hundreds and thousands of guests staying with us every year. And the amount of little plastic bottles that we go through is huge. So we introduced about 4 years ago a program where we recycle these containers. So we pay for that program to support it. We pay with the funds that we get from recycling containers, so bottles and cans. We're also incredibly lucky. Our hotel owners feel very, very strongly about environment as well. And a couple of years ago, they invested a very, very substantial sum of money into upgrading air conditioning system in the hotel. So we are one of the few hotels that uses motion sensors in the rooms to identify if anyone is in the room, and sort of manages the power in the room. So air conditioning is not running when the room is empty, or the lights turn off. So that really makes a huge difference, and it's a very, very big commitment for the owners, which we're very grateful for. Outside that, there are other programs that we're rolling out on a more global level. For example, again, going back to guest amenities, we are as a company now switching to bulk amenities, and that's something that we expect to have in place by the end of the year, again, to reduce the waste, to reduce the amount of waste landfill and just the plastic that's being manufactured for the hotel.
What is the one piece of advice that you would give to guests that are coming to visit you at the Hilton Surfers Paradise? What's the one thing that you can do to add value and help with the recycling outcomes that you're doing? What are some small steps that guests can do as they come to stay with you?
I think it takes a great effort. I think it's all about awareness and about little steps. Things like, as I mentioned, just putting a bottle next to the rubbish bin makes a big difference, makes a big impact. On one hand, it shows care to the team member who is actually going to be cleaning the room afterwards. But on the other hand, it really shows care about environment around us. And it doesn't take much. If every person who stays in the hotel puts one container next to the bin or puts it straight into the recycling bin, over the duration of the year, it adds to hundreds of thousands of containers, bottles, cans. And if we all do the same at home as well, I think we're going to make a huge impact in no time.
Thank you so much for your time today. It's great talking with you.